Hi, my name is Lloyd Grades. I'm the page and volunteer supervisor here at the Grandview Heights Public Library. I want to thank you guys for coming to our weekly book talk. We post this on all our social media pages every Thursday at 2 p.m. I've got, today I'm going to go over books for what's known in our basement area, mainly 4th through 12th grade. So I've got two stacks, one that mainly focuses on 4th through 6th graders, and the other stack mainly focuses on 7th through 12th graders. All right, let's get to our first book right now. I'm going to start off with the 4th through 6th grade set first today. So the first book I've got right here, in continuing with other books I've done and others have done in this series, is Lou. This is book 4 in the Track series, written by Jason Reynolds. This is a fiction book, and the great thing I've been loving about this series is, as I've said before, I come from a track and field family. I ran cross-country track and field. I really have to say, I think he's nailed all the terminology perfectly down, especially for those who don't participate in that sport. They can follow it and they can understand it. I thought this was a great finish. The book is, the series, I should say, is 4 books, this being the last. I thought this was a great finish to it. It focuses on, once again, the team, the Defenders. The entire series covers an entire season for their track and field. This one focuses, of course, on Lou. Lou is a kid who really wasn't supposed to be here. His parents thought they couldn't have kids, and of course, so he's, there, and so he's kind of called Lightning, or Lightning Strikes, as his mom calls him. He's kind of a nervous kid, a little bit, but he hides that mainly with a lot of his swagger and his upbeat and outgoing personality. One of the things I like about this book is the main character, Lou, is an albino, and they focus on that. He gets bullied a lot because of that, and yet he uses his smarts as well as his athletic skills to not only get people not to notice that, but also overcome a lot of the bullying that's done. And in that, he actually puts a bully kind of in their place through one of the sporting events in this book, which I thought was just, I just love that moment, because it shows Lou never stoops to the bully's level, yet he never let the bully kind of hold him down or anything. But in the book as well, he struggles with leading the team. He takes on the event, the hurdles, which ironically he now has new hurdles in his life, in that he's becoming a big brother. He's used to being the only child, and now he's got to struggle with that as well. But all the previous the characters from the previous books come back, and you really just get, Ghost, Sunny, all of them, the coaches, and you get to see how they all kind of come full circle as characters, even though this book focuses primarily on Lou. So just a great thing, and it really shows the relationships that the kids, the middle schoolers, have with each other, as well as they have with adults, and so on. So, good thing. This was probably my favorite out of the 4th through 6th group right here, is Smile by Ryan. I always have trouble mispronouncing her name. I'm sorry, Ryan Telgemeier. And anyway, this is a fiction graphic novel book, and I kind of relate. This is semi-autobiographical of her, because in this, the main character is named after her, and it really is her. And she kind of recounts her years going through junior high into high school. So the book ends kind of at the beginning of high school for her, but it also shows what she had to go through. She always knew she was going to have to get braces, but one night after a Girl Scout meeting, she has an accident, and so then she has to get her braces sooner, but also has to have major dental surgery. And this kind of goes on for the next 4 years, almost 5. And what's interesting is, as she not only rebuilds her mouth, but also fixes from the accident, it kind of shows how she goes through her life and how she kind of navigates the growth from, you know, through junior high into high school as well. And so, of course, by the time she gets her braces off, you know, she's entering high school and she's reached this whole other level in her life. And I just thought it was really touching and really endearing. And as a guy who used to have braces, I related to the main character quite a bit because, yeah, by the time I got my braces off, like the main character, I was a completely different person and I had grown up in a lot of ways. So it's a great book. This is probably the funniest book title in this group. But right here, this is this series is called Fart Quest, Silent but Deadly. Yeah, you say the title without laughing. It's written by Aaron Reynolds. It is a fiction fantasy book. And it's mainly about these three students right here, Fart, Moxie, and Pan. Now, the main character, his real name isn't Fart, but he gets the name because he's part of a group called the Top Academy for Heroes. And when they pick their first spell that they're going to learn, you know, from the wizard who they apprentice under, instead of picking something like Fireball or Magic Missile, he chooses to pick the gas attack, which essentially is when you cast that spell, whoever you touch essentially becomes a giant cloud of gas for a certain amount of time. And he just thought that was the funniest thing. He's like, basically, you're turning somebody into a fart. And the wizard he apprentices under doesn't really, you know, find it all that funny, but he goes, all right, whatever. And so he ends up calling him Fart. So that's how he gets the nickname. But in the process, the three students that I had just mentioned, their wizards are all in a battle, and they just disappear from the battle. And instead of going back to the academy, Fart convinces his two other pals that they need to continue on this quest before they come back to the school to prove, you know, we need to carry on the work of our masters, and we need to go fight, you know, giant bees and ogres and protect the villages of the 14 kingdoms. And so without giving too much away, of course, they then embark upon a quest, not only to do that, but other things that they discover along the way. And the thing the entire book's told from Fart's point of view, but you get the perspective of other characters. And probably the thing I liked best about the book was how diverse it was. I mean, right here on the cover, you can see the diversity of the characters and just how they're drawn. But even then, in the writing, you kind of get the impression that, you know, they're definitely people of all colors, all races, different ages, different genders, and all that. And I just thought that was very refreshing for a fantasy book, in that the amount of diversity in there, not just with mythical characters, but the characters that are also human. So something totally worth checking out, whether you're into fantasy or bodily humor jokes. So, and our last book for the 4th through 6th grade group, kind of a very sweet and touching story, is this one right here, Becoming Kid Kyote. It's a true story of belonging in America. It's written by Sarah Serena and Stephen Hoff, and it's nonfiction. It's biography, and this is kind of the younger reader's version of the same book. But you know, Sarah enters an after-school program, and in it they discover the book Don Quixote, and kids' version of it. And the teacher kind of says, "Hey, let's redo this story." Well, in the process of kind of retelling Don Quixote, the kids decide to reimagine the entire story of that into a group of modern kids, which they are, and who are children of immigrants in Brooklyn, which these kids are. A lot of these kids in this after-school program are all the sons and daughters of people who immigrated over into the U.S., and she has a Latino background, or Hispanic background, whichever term you prefer. And Anyway, so she really connected and resonated with Don Quixote, since that's also a Latino or Hispanic background story. And they transform it. She becomes Kid Kyote, and they later decide, since they're in, in Brooklyn in the New York area, express it in the form of a musical. And it really got her in touch with her family roots, not only from, and she's from Mexico, but also from her roots here in America. And that's the thing that impressed me the most, is just by connecting through this project, she connected 3 generations, hers, her mom's, and her grandmother's, and as well as what it means, for your ancestry, to be proud of that, but also proud of who you are and the ancestry that you're building today. So, not only is she proud to be Mexican, she's also very proud to be American as well. And it was just a beautiful balance. So, if you've read I Am Malala, or Dear America, or The Freedom Writer's Diary, this is definitely a book you want to check out. So, all right, our next group of books is for the 7th through 12th grade books. I'm going to start off with somewhat of a childhood favorite of mine, and right here, the Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest books. When I was a kid, they were called Choose Your Own Adventure. I'm a big Dungeons & Dragons fan, so I thought this was really neat in that there was also a Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest series when I was a kid, and they're bringing it back. And so I just immediately was like, well, I got to check this out. And this one's Escape from the Underdark, and it says right there on the cover, you are a fighter. This is written by Matt Forbeck, who is a fantasy writer and has written work or collaborated with the company that makes Dungeons & Dragons. And so he's a very good writer on that in terms of writing adventures. The neat thing about these books is it's always told from first-person point of view. So the main character, the fighter, it's always referred to as you, because the whole idea is you're going along, and you'll read a couple pages as the book starts out, and then you get to a choice. And, it'll say something like you're in a hallway and you come to a fork, and there's 3 different passageways. And at the bottom of that page, it'll say, do you decide to go straight? Do you go to the left? Do you go to the right? And in that, and then it tells you, if you choose to go to the right, turn to page 5. If you go to the left, turn to page 20. If you go down the center tunnel, turn to page 30. And then you go to that page. And then that's where the story continues. And the neat thing about this is you can still start off the story the same way, and yet you can have 5 or 6 different endings to the story. And that's what I always liked about it, because it kind of shows in some ways the diversity of life, and that every time you make a choice, it kind of leads you down one path, even though you're not going down the others. But with a book like this, you get to explore every single possibility. So it's never really the same story twice. And I picked Fighter just because that was the first character I ever played in D&D. So, but this one's actually really fun. What I had to do was mark the pages with Post-it notes, writing what choice I made, so when I went back, I didn't keep making the same choice over and over again. So there you go. Our next book is a graphic novel. It's called Library Wars. I hope I'm pronouncing these authors' names correctly. It is Kiro Yumi and Hiro Arakawa. I believe that's how you say it, but I could be totally wrong. Anyway, the neat thing about Library Wars is it takes place in the near future in kind of a dystopian society. There's a section of the government called the Betterment Society, and they go around and they decide what is good and what is bad for society, mainly having to do with literature. So if they feel a book is wrong for society, they will pull it and remove it from public use. And of course, the Library Defense Force then is formed, and what they do is they can go around and they can kind of circumvent the Betterment group and pull something. So even if the Betterment group says, oh, Huckleberry Finn shouldn't be read by the public, the Library Defense Force can actually go in and save a couple copies of Huckleberry Finn and say, well, we have to save this for historical purposes and all that. And of course, then people who have access to the library at the Library Defense Force's get to read things. So think about it. When you come in here to check out this book, it's, in a way, you're entering the Library Defense Force. It's just now the librarians, not only do we do the jobs you see us do, but, you know, we're almost like a military unit that goes out and saves books from being banned or destroyed. And so it's kind of neat how they balance all that out and work in First Amendment issues. So that's what I loved about it, and I'm a big manga fan. So there we go. Our third book, and once again continuing a series that I've done in this, is with the DC Icons. It's Catwoman, Soul Stealer. It's written by Sarah J. Maas. It is fiction, kind of science fiction. They take the main character, Catwoman, Selena Kyle. In this one, they make her a little more, you know, you have more empathy for her, even though she's still a cat burglar. She actually becomes she's a teenager when the story starts out, and she's really a cat burglar in order to get stuff to sell to keep her and her sister out of a corrupt kind of foster system. And her sister has an illness, so she sells things to help, you know, pay for her sister's medical costs. And anyway, she gets in trouble with the police, and a kind of secret organization comes along and says, you know, hey, you come work for us, and we'll erase your criminal record and give you a new identity. Well, she goes off and she trains with them, but she realizes they're just as corrupt as kind of the government has become. And so she leaves them, but she leaves them with a new identity. And then she, you know, rediscovers, she finds her sister again, and she teams up with some of Gotham's villains like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and just pulls off robberies, never really harming anybody, just, you know, sneaks in, gets something valuable, sells it on the black market, and then uses the money, of course, to once again support herself as well as take care of her sister. Of course, along the way, because she's working with Gotham's villains, she runs into the nasty villains like the Joker, and also discovers the secret to what's known as the Lazarus Pit, which is, in DC verse, a pit which essentially, if somebody enters, can heal you of any illness you have. So now she has to figure out, okay, how do I use this information to heal my sister, but yet not let that information fall into the wrong hands? And of course, as soon as people find out she has information about the Lazarus Pit, they're after her. So I don't want to give too much away, but if you're a comic book fan, or you just like kind of some cool mysteries, this is a good one to pick up. So, and last but not least, right there, we have, this is our nonfiction bio. It's Fierce, How Competing for Myself Changed Everything by Ali Ramsman. I really like this. In the 1996 Olympics, I worked for Coca-Cola, and I got to meet actually a lot of the U.S. gymnastics team, both men and women, although I actually got to hang out with the women's gymnastics team more than the men's gymnastics team. And so it's kind of neat to see, you know, who the next teams are. Allie is a remarkable person. She fell in love with gymnastics at a young age. From the age of 8, she said, I'm going to the Olympics and I'm going to win gold. She had to sacrifice a lot along the way, but she says without certain friends and family, she couldn't have done it. So she's grateful to them. She went to the Olympics twice, in 2012 and 2016. She was team captain both times. She's won 6 Olympic medals. She's also the first American ever to win the gold in the floor exercise. And the thing I really like most about her, too, on this is that she treats everybody the way she wants to be treated and balances with how they want to be treated. But also, she's an advocate for positive body images. You should feel comfortable in your own skin. And so if you're just looking for an inspirational book about, you know, hey, even if you're not into gymnastics, but just setting a goal and achieving that goal, and being positive no matter what is thrown at you, this is a great book for you to read. This is a great biography. So I just really had a good time with it. Well, anyway, I thank you guys for tuning in, as always. You and also watching the other videos. Please tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. here on our social media channels for these reviews, not only from myself, but other staff members as well. All right. Hope you guys have a good time and come in and pick up some of the books here at the Grandview Heights Public Library. Thanks.